All right. Shall I start?
Yep.
No sound whatsoever.
No. I might need you to grab me a pen.
All right. Where is it?
Probably in that.
Okay.
Oh,
You got it right. There it is.
look at that.
Sitting right on your collar.
The summer, you think have a smell?
Sometimes, I guess.
I'd argue this is it.
Smells like summer. All right.
First day of summer for my kids.
Okay.
Well, they had a half day of school.
I don't know if we've gotten this far in the intro music before.
Kinda like this.
Yeah. I know. It gets all kind of scatty. Shitty bop ba diggy bop doody ba. Whoa, that's making me nervous.
Whoa. I like the. Oh, bye.
Oh, you didn't notice that? Or you did?
No, I did. I just thought it would stay on longer and look cool.
Nope. Alas, it wouldn't.
New format. We're just going to talk over this music.
All day long.
Yep.
Hello and welcome to The Moon Underwater. I'm Kelly Daniels.
And I am Steve Jones.
All right, Steve, before we get into our subject today, you already told me that you know your opening gambit, but let me start off with something unrelated.
Oh, my opening gambit was, does summer have a smell?
Oh, nice. You already did it. That's
Sorry.
great. If you accomplished it.
I had no thoughts on what we read.
Oh,
Kidding.
Okay.
There we go.
Today is a weird, chord day. All our chords just seem a little more tangled than usual.
They're impossible to get straight, and they're not long enough anymore. Even though
Yeah,
they were last time we
which
did
is
this.
strange because we do this all the time, and and actually it's like light out, and we're sober.
Nice.
One of us is at least.
Well.
I won't say which, but but here we are struggling. So I've been working on a new kind of sign off.
Oh.
Meaning new probably isn't the right word because we don't have a sign off.
No.
But I'm just thinking. I'm still in season 3, thinking, what is this podcast about? And it's above average bar talk. That's
right.
good.
Not
but
elevated.
What's it stand for? And in doing that interview for that for Christine Sneed's wonderful
Nice. Yes.
newsletter, Substack newsletter, Bookish. She kind of asked me to think about this kind of stuff, and I fell back on, well, really, the reason why we always meet in person is it's a kind of a reaction against. It's a celebration of getting out the house,
Yes.
and meeting a friend for a beer out in the real world,
Right.
And that's kind of it. And
never
that's,
declaring, I'm never going to leave the house.
right? No, that's not what we're going to declare.
In a nod to this story.
But right. Yeah, the story is about the dangers of leaving the house, I guess.
And somebody who declares at one point they never will leave the house.
That's right. There is a shut-in there. And I totally, we know a lot of people like that. I was thinking when we get to that guy, he's a bit player, by the way. I was thinking of, and hey, I'm sorry if I offend any of our listeners here. I'm sure there's huge slice of them, but the people that are still wearing masks all the time from 5 years ago,
Amazing.
COVID, I feel like that's the same energy as the guy that just decides to never leave his house
Totally
again.
true.
And I bet you a lot of those people, the mask people, they would never leave their house if they didn't have to go out for a job. And it's just, but anyway, we're against all that. We're the opposite of that. So here's I wrote down something that's going to be my, I don't know. I'm workshopping it.
Okay.
And it'll be my sign off. So we're working on it right now. And it is something like, thanks for listening. Now put away your phone, get out of the house, and hang out with a friend.
Yeah.
And I put in real life.
At a bar, but don't drive drunk.
Don't have to be a bar. You could do something. You could go play a pickup softball game with a
pickleball.
Yeah, with a bunch of beer in the cooler.
Right.
Yeah, you got to drink.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, figured, yeah.
But it doesn't always have to be a bar. We've actually done this at cafes.
Yep.
One cafe, bunch of different bars. Any other locations besides bars and that one cafe? I think that's it. Season 1, I was recording in the little student cafe at Augustana College. The Brew.
Oh.
Augustana College.
There
The
you
Brew.
go. And the brew. I ding the brew.
Because the original co-host was a student and she wasn't. She wasn't 21.
Wait,
so
was that?
Oh no, I've been to Roz Talks. That's not really a bar. That's like an art gallery, hipster, event space, cafe bar.
The
Roz
Brew. So
Yeah.
is that? I'm trying to think. Is that the library?
Yeah,
Okay.
the snackatorium, as I
On
like
the
to.
fourth floor.
Yeah,
The part where printed books are so important, we got rid of them to put a new lunchroom.
yeah,
That's what I like. People were making the argument that
yeah,
books in a library were better than like things that were online. This was when I was teaching.
yeah.
I was like, no, you're right. They got rid of the fourth floor at the
libraries are getting rid of paper books, and
And shout
they're
out
cutting down on them.
to the librarian for finding the article. That
Yeah, I went to an Augustana College library to find the article about. We haven't even introduced the subject. It'll be in the title, but here's kind of. I guess we're easing into the introduction, and that is that it's Alice Munro, and we read a specific short story by her. I know probably a lot of background about her, and I don't want to make this too long of that, but we can go in as deep of that or not as we want. And she was a very beloved writer, a master of the short story. I've heard it credibly said that she's the greatest short story writer since Chekhov. She wrote a lot of stories, like hundreds of them in the New Yorker magazine. She won the Nobel Prize for Literature.
and kind of pervy.
Not very many people do that. She and Bob Dylan are pretty much the only ones that matter. That was supposed to be a joke.
Oh,
But,
I don't know.
yeah, well, he's a harmonica player, so giving him a Nobel Prize for Literature is, I think, kind of funny. But
Take it back. I didn't know he actually did. He really win one? I
Oh,
thought you
yeah.
were making that up.
No, he did.
That
And
is
it was
kinda
the only
shitty.
time somebody who, like a songwriter, has ever won it. But
I've
anyway,
seen him 3 times.
Oh,
Can I
really?
just say?
Yeah.
He sucked all 3 times. You can come on this show and
yeah,
defend yourself, you coward.
Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No voice.
He's pretty elderly. I wouldn't want him to make it all the way here and have to deal with the rough crowd at the Riverview Roadhouse.
And the one-way
yeah, I
down the
don't.
main drag.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably past.
Yeah.
He's past his prime. I think we should have an age limit, both to be president of the United States and to come on our show.
And defend
There's-
themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
because at some point, calling somebody a coward when they're doddering, it just seems mean.
Ooh. I dinged by accident.
That's not good.
So watch ding.
Yeah, watch ding.
Okay, so you were introducing, and I called her a
Alice
perv.
Munro was about as beloved a literary figure as you're going to get. She's from Canada, like I said, and
That helps. Everybody
know,
likes Canadians.
they do, but they also don't have that much in the way of literary figures, I'm sure. And if you have a problem with that, you know
what you can do.
you know where where to
can
find
come
us.
right here.
At the Riverview Roadhouse, right on the Mississippi River. Ever heard of it? Greatest river in North America.
That's right.
And
We're winning the river battle here.
but they really, she's a national treasure. I have a real personal connection I learned of her writing when I first started graduate school, and she blew me away, kind of disturbed me, wrote differently from everybody else.
Totally.
And kind of just goes there in a way that you didn't. Anyway, she has a lot of stories that are about people being exceptionally cruel to each other and often very normal seeming people doing really horrible things.
Yeah.
And so anyway, she's this amazing writer. And then after she died in her 90s, her daughter came out and published a story in the Toronto Star, good old Toronto Star, who does not let at least any of these Americans here read any of their articles without subscribing. So I couldn't read it at all, and until I went to our local library, university library,
Right.
and the librarian found a free copy for me and sent me the PDF.
Which is great.
So what do you think of that, Toronto Star?
Yeah.
And the article is about how her daughter was raped, molested, abused
Yeah.
at age 9, and it kept
Crazy.
happening by Munro's boyfriend or her second husband. And
yeah.
so the daughter, Andrea Skinner is her name, I believe.
Yeah.
She finally wrote this after her mother died, and it completely fucked up her whole life. And she finally told her mother when she was in her 20s. Anyway, I didn't need to jump into this much detail of the article.
It's really important for my take on the story.
Sure. So everybody who loved Munro all these years, and think about this is like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep.
Peak or maybe waning cancellation, but cancellation was
It was still a thing.
It was still a hard thing. And everybody that loved Munro immediately had to denounce her, and everybody was posting shit on. And so I was a big Munro lover.
Yeah.
I didn't say a goddamn thing. Nobody cared. But I taught this in many classes. I recommended Munro to people. And everybody's like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And I'll tell you what I thought. Like, oh, it totally makes sense.
It makes sense.
These stories
are
window. Sicko.
Yes.
And this isn't the only one, man.
Okay.
They are so much like that. And I could tell you about the story collection that the story is called Wild Swans.
Mm.
And it features a girl named Rose who's 16 years old. It's in a book called The Beggar Maid. And it's a collection of stories that are all about Rose from the time she's a kid to the time that she is a middle-aged woman and she becomes a very successful person. And she has a number of marriages and a lot of sexual experiences. And she is like serially unfaithful to all the men in her life.
So it's her.
And she gets into like swinger, wife-swapping-y sex, orgy sex at some point in her life.
I mean, everybody ends up there at some point.
you get bored of the same old,
right,
you know?
You spiral down to the orgies.
That is true. Hey, can I tell you, I haven't even had a sip of my beer.
Oh, my
This
God.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready. I'm going to tell you a quick little story about just today.
Oh, good.
So my wife's off work. She's finished teaching. She's done for the semester or for the year.
I thought you meant forever. She is finished
No.
teaching.
She has to go back in the fall. But and this will probably drop later. So just
It'll be in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she. Anyway, I'm out running errands. I went by my office to kind of do some stuff there, and I just texted her before coming home just to say, hey, on my way home. And she texted back. I saw later. Said, good. I'll tell the plumber to leave. And that's a joke, right? Ha ha. This is a testament to where I am in life. My first thought was, what the fuck broke in our house now, and how much is it going to cost to fix it? And that made me think of it would be like a Saturday Night Live skit or something. Is a guy comes home, finds his wife with the plumber, and he's like, oh, thank God, you're just having sex. I thought something was broken.
Actually, I like that.
I guess you'd have to make it work. Anyway, so.
They could make that into a movie from Saturday Night Live.
They would be like a full-on, a bunch of improving around that. So, I've been talking nonstop and I think we should just wrap it up now.
I think we're good.
Let me just let you talk for a while so I can catch up on my beer.
Yeah, you need to. So, I think what was important for me was the order that I read stuff in. The Toronto Star article I read second. And
okay.
Just because of when I was able to access it and saw it.
Well, me too. In the grand scheme of things,
so you had an opinion first rather than this person's a real shithead.
Yeah.
And then, like for me, I think it made a huge difference in what I thought of Wild Swans.
So afterward, you put the information you have back on Wild.
Yeah.
Can you try to tell us a little bit about how you felt in your first read, like before you read?
That I'm like, gets a little pervy.
Yeah.
Like, and is it really happening? Yes, it's really happening.
Yeah.
Or is it all in her mind? No, it's really happening.
Yeah.
And that in the, I would say my take on it, if I was going to do a hot take, was Well, she wanted it. And we haven't gotten there. But is that an inaccurate? I mean, if you think about it, and like that's
Munro is definitely challenging us
yes.
to have that take. And I don't think she's doing it naively, like.
And well, I guess my thought was that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
Is saying, well, I mean, she wanted it.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, but I also think we're going to get to this plot, right? We'll talk about it, and maybe we should talk about this a little more. But
Yeah.
I will say that having spoken to people who study this stuff and like psychology and stuff, I guess a 16-year-old being manipulated into sex with an older man in this kind of way, her wanting it and her not wanting it are both happening at the same
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times kind of victims of even rape have orgasms, and that's even makes it kind of excuse it. The body does funny things,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
just say.
Sure.
And that to acknowledge that, I think, is just reality, but to use it as an excuse and like, oh, well, so no harm, no foul.
Exactly.
She most certainly didn't give her consent.
No.
But she eventually, anyway, we
should get there.
Yeah.
Why
Do you
don't
want to say more about how you felt after you read the article?
That it made a lot of sense.
Right. That
Based on what I
Munro
read.
would sort of. So this was written long before. Oh, I forgot the date.
I was
Would
gonna
she
ask.
have heard from her daughter that her husband did this?
Ooh.
I
It's in
I
the
don't
article.
think so. I don't think so.
Okay, what year was this written?
Does it say on the piece that
Mm-mm.
I really should have checked that, but
We have an absolutely legitimate copy.
we do.
Copied for educational purposes. Thank you.
So she originally, I kind of think it was in the 1960s.
Okay.
When she published her first book, which was this one. It was actually called something else when it was originally released in Canada,
Okay.
or Canada, as I
Canada.
like to call it.
So I always have two questions on these. When are we and where are we? And where are we was easy.
Yeah.
Outside of Toronto.
In a small town called West Hanratty, and that's where Rose is from.
Right.
That's where Flo is from. And it is Redneckville, Sticksville,
Yeah.
small town,
Trailer Park Boys. That's where
totally
they live.
poor.
Yeah.
And it's far enough outside of Toronto where they're like, oh, don't go to Toronto. You'll get mugged.
Wait, you've seen Trailer Park Boys, right?
I know what it is, but I
amazing.
haven't. Is it good?
Yeah.
All right. Trailer Park Boys.
It's an acquired taste.
That's a wreck.
Yeah. Yes, it's like the scary big city, and Flo, like the way that it starts, the first line, Flo said to watch out for white slavers.
Yep.
Love that.
It gets you right into
And
it.
Flo, it took me a second to realize that the conversations with Flo and the previous trips were sort of the backdrop for the beginning of it.
Yeah.
They were going kind of back and forth.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay.
So the first section is Flo. It's kind of a summary
all the warnings
of what Flo says to Rose. And so just jumping to what the story is, the actual action of the story is young Rose wins a writing contest.
Yep.
She gets money for it, and she gets to use this money for her first trip to Toronto by herself,
Right.
without any parental people. And she's going to take the train, and it starts off with Flo, who's her stepmother, and her father's dead, telling her all of the terrible things that are going to happen to her. And she's doing it in kind of like almost a sadistic way. Like,
Oh, yeah.
watch out for the white slavers. This is what they do. They pretend like they're nice old lady.
Yes. This is such an urban legend, too.
Oh, yeah.
There's like, oh, I knew somebody whose kids got kidnapped at Disneyland by an old woman, and now they've been sold into sexual slavery
Yeah.
in China. And it's like,
Yeah.
I heard that same story about various amusement parks throughout the Midwest. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that didn't happen. But it's right here, like the first paragraph.
Absolutely. Flo does that, and she also says, "Oh, they'll also steal your money. Like, watch out."
Yeah.
And she sews a little secret pocket into Rose's slip to put $10 in, and she goes, "They'll take your money too." And Flo used to work in Toronto.
Right.
She used to be a waitress at the train station, and she knew what was what. And she once saw a guy
when he
stabbed.
gets stabbed?
Yeah.
Like the
Said
knife went in as easily as...
He said he pulled up, one guy pulled up the other guy's shirt and sliced his stomach as easy as cutting a watermelon.
Yeah.
And then the guy just stared down at it, and she saw
down.
two bad women,
Yeah.
which is what Flo calls
Bad
whores,
women.
fighting. And everybody starts egging him on.
Yeah.
And
I know I would.
Oh, yeah. It would be pretty amusing at the
Right.
train station. So Flo has got it all figured out, and she's trying to scare, and she goes, "Well, I'll just tell the cops." She goes, "Oh, they're the first to diddle you."
Right. After them, who is it?
The ministers.
The ministers.
It's like, watch out for priests, ministers especially. They put fake collars on, and that's how they lure you into getting kidnapped. So Flo, and then Rose, look behind us, man.
Oh, wait.
Look at that action.
Oh, yeah.
The good old riverboat Twilight here in
That is the
LeClaire,
Twilight, eh?
Iowa. Yep.
Not
Come
the
on
Celebration Bell.
No, we don't. I don't ring that.
Oh.
That's
further down the river, folk like me.
that's a Moline vessel.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh.
I think so. Yeah, it's Moline.
Oh.
This
And I
is-
take it back. I de-ding them.
Yeah, we don't ding the Celebration Bell.
Right.
Those of you who are just old listening, you're not catching the whole experience.
That is the Mississippi at its finest in summer, which it totally smells like right now.
Yeah, it's a good smell.
There was after the initial, watch out for these people. My next favorite one was the guy with the hearse.
Yeah.
That.
So we're still kind of in the background, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's Flo would talk. Oh, go ahead.
No,
you tell about it.
It's his sons had taken over the undertaking, which I loved. That I love it.
Little calliope.
Yeah.
It's from the
It
Celebrate.
seems really weird to be reading this sentence with that backdrop.
Hey, man. No, it's the perfect music for his.
Here we go. His sons had taken over the undertaking and bought a new one. They're talking about a hearse. I love the overtaken the undertaking.
Yeah, that's pretty
good. He drove the hearse all over the country looking for women, so Flo said. And I love this. He's going to go pick up chicks in a hearse.
Oh, yeah. And Flo says, some of them fall for it.
Right?
And he comes into the store and buys candy.
He does. She's sure he's poisoning.
Yeah.
And giving to all those
I don't
women.
think poisoning. I think he just lures
drugging
them into it.
Oh.
I don't think I don't even think he's doing a Bill Cosby. I think he's just seducing
The
them.
Cosby.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
I talked about this story to a colleague earlier today, and she brought up Bill Cosby
ooh, that's
As-
a good.
as a comparison. That's one of my points here. Is it a fair comparison? The great literary Alice Munro kind of getting outed. We didn't even really get into too much what the article said. Should we go through the story first, then
Let's
go to
through
the article?
story, then the article.
Then we'll
our-
talk about
yeah,
Cosby.
Yeah. All right. We'll just leave Cosby where he is.
For now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Out of jail, walking free.
Really?
Yeah. There was problems in the prosecutor's case, and they got out on a technicality. They didn't fill out their forms right or whatever. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So, Flo is saying that there's every woman who reported being asked said she had turned him down. He never pestered anybody, drove on politely.
Yeah.
But
Nice guy.
yeah,
There's nothing wrong with that. Driving your hearse around, pulling up to women, saying, "Hey,
baby.
you want some candy? You want some candy?" And he's got this nice little hearse where he could pull over somewhere shady. Purple
the kidnapper
curtains?
vans didn't exist at the time, or this guy would have had one. Or did he really exist?
Yeah, well,
Is
that
it just part of the urban legend?
So, well, he does exist because he would come into the store, and Rose saw him.
Okay.
But she didn't believe
that's
that he
right.
did that. But remember why Rose doesn't believe it. He goes, "Oh, it's nonsense. A man that age." So, think about it. That is an idea only a young woman could have, a girl could have.
Yeah.
That men stop being that way because they get older.
Yeah, it's true.
And the minister that sits down next to her is between 50 and 60,
Yeah.
the worst ages. You got to watch out for those people in their 50s.
Wait a minute.
Men in their
Ted,
I'm
you
just
saying?
saying. I'm just saying. You
you
know,
ever sat next to a young woman on a train?
I go out of my way not to. You never know.
Exactly.
You never know.
So she gets she's one of my favorite parts is what she's worried about. It's amazing.
When the stuff she wants to buy, or okay.
Uh,
Are we talking about Flo?
no, we're talking about Rose.
Yeah.
She sits down, or the pastor sits down. Was it pastor?
Yeah.
Minister. Minister sits down
Yeah.
next to her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Right.
Because first it's just a guy. We don't know, and we don't know what he is. We don't know his
Yeah.
name. We never learn it.
Yeah.
And
I know what you're getting at here. Yeah.
and she's like, I'm going, okay, something is odd with this. And then all of a sudden I wrote down minister because of what was said earlier. That
Yeah.
the ministers are the biggest pervs. And then as she's talking to him, she goes, she was afraid he was going to lead the conversation from them to nature in general and then to God.
Because he's talking about the wild swans.
Right.
Yeah.
I loved it because I'm
Me
like,
too.
me too. I would have hated that.
And but then when he doesn't, she feels indebted to him.
Yes.
So she like talks back like, "Oh yeah, they must have been pretty nice."
Right.
And so she feels she owes him something just because he didn't talk to her about God.
Right.
That was pretty funny.
I thought it was hilarious. I wrote amen in I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I don't want to talk to him about God either. I'm good.
So I don't know when we want to get into the background information about Rose. First off, maybe just Flo. Flo is just kind of a know-it-all,
Yeah.
rednecky lady who used to live in the city. So
I
she
didn't like
kind
her.
of, she's, I think, unlikable, but she's taking care of Rose, and it's her stepdaughter, but the father died, and
Yeah.
they have this. She kind of messes with Rose, and so Rose wins this contest, and I guess what I'm getting at is the stuff about what. Anyway, that's Flo, but Rose is the interesting character here. We know a lot more about her, and on the one hand, she's this like insecure 16-year-old. Like most, right?
Yeah.
She's a brainiac. She like wins this contest, and she's excited to go on this trip by herself for the first time.
Yeah.
But we also find a lot about her secret life, her secret thoughts and ideas,
racing thoughts through her head.
Yeah, and she is really interested in men. She even the guy that delivers bread, just kind of his confidence, and
She loved it.
she likes that his like belly that hangs over his belt
Slightly folded over his belt.
did not displease her.
I'm
And she
like,
liked his
"Yo,
hands and
Let me show you a belly.
yeah, and she has these fantasies or thoughts about her French
does.
teacher, who's not even a real Frenchman, but it must have rubbed off on him because.
There's just something about his sad
And she
eyes.
writes about how he would like curl his way into slow pleasures, a perfect diplomat of indulgence.
Yeah.
And then it finally gets to this point where, do you have it on that page where it said she had a considerable desire to be, should I find
She
it?
had a considerable desire, considerable longing. Sorry, I'm losing my pages here. She had a considerable longing to be somebody's object, pounded, pleasured, reduced, exhausted.
Humiliated.
I underline that.
Oh, no, humiliated comes later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also had this one. She would sometimes look at men's hands, at the fuzz on their forearms, their concentrating profiles, she would think about everything they could do, even the stupid ones.
Yeah.
I love that. She's like, I mean, if he's dumb, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't,
And so she has this other life.
Yeah.
And the other key to, or I guess evidence of her other life, clue, are the things that she wants to buy in Toronto. Do you remember?
So
They show that, so Flo, it's this perfect comparison between them. She needs to buy some things when she's in the city, as you do. And Flo wants to get socks for her varicose veins.
Yes.
Some glue to put teapot handles back on, like broken teapot handles.
Yep.
Something else, like, do you have it right there?
I do.
It's some practical thing.
First, for Flo, special stockings for her varicose veins, a special kind of cement for sticking handles on pots, and a full set of dominoes.
Yep.
Love it. Rose wanted a hair remover for her arms.
So none of the things, she doesn't tell anybody the things she wants, and she could buy some of them or have them shipped, but she doesn't want anybody to know, especially Flo.
Right.
So hair remover, some thinning gadget.
Yep. Let's see. Yes, inflatable cushions.
Yeah, that are supposed to
thin your
make you.
thighs.
Yeah. And then bangles and an Angora sweater.
Yep.
She wants to be hot, you
Yep.
know? She wants to be cute. She's the smart girl that probably the nerd girl but she just wants to be the hot girl, right?
She does.
But she's not going to tell anybody that. So anyway,
How could she, you know?
that's all happening before we're on the train. She gets on the train. There's this little anecdote about the last time she was on the train with Flo, and Flo is like super embarrassing. She's like telling all the neighbors about Rose's morning constipation.
Yeah.
And
oh, my God.
So Rose orders from the porter or whatever. Not porter, whoever's selling stuff on the train. Some chocolate milk, and it turns out to be sour. And she keeps sipping it because she had a hard time like accepting that something that she had been.
Flo keeps sipping it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she goes, because she had a hard time accepting that something so anticipated could turn out bad.
Right.
Which I think is a little bit of a foreshadowing, you know,
Totally
this
true.
thing that she has been anticipating, a sexual encounter with a man. Well, here's the spoiler. It's going to happen. And it probably wasn't what she was expecting, or
Yeah.
And so anyway, that happened back then. And then she also she ends up throwing up on the train bathroom later and spends the whole day worried that people will smell the vomit. She's somebody who's so embarrassed to tell anybody. She didn't even want to complain about the spoiled milk. She hated that Flo was telling everybody about everything. She was worried. So it's just a little bit of character building to partly explain why what happened.
Right.
And you can imagine a 16-year-old girl being embarrassed is worse than almost anything, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah.
At
least
now we're finally
15 and 11, which is what I have. And being embarrassed in public would be the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they finally are on the train, and Flo and Rose just feels this great sense of liberation. The farther away she gets from Flo, the better she feels.
Yeah.
And she's just
super happy
cruising
for her.
along, and the train's not very. But then the train starts to fill up, and this guy sits next to her, and he turns out he's a minister, and he doesn't talk to her about God. But she likes that he is telling her this story about seeing all these wild swans.
Yep.
And he said, it was in a pool from the snows.
Heavy snows.
Heavy snows. And she goes, the way that he said snows was poetic. Everybody at home would have just said snow.
Right.
So she sees him as this sophisticated, worldly guy, right?
He said snows.
Snows. Heavy
snows
snows.
of Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, that's right. That is very poetic. So, and then we're just kind of cruising along. And how do we get into the next part? How it happens is very little by little and slowly.
Yeah, as it does.
He opens he's reading a newspaper, and the newspaper sort of falls over part of Rose's leg.
And he's making a big scene by folding the newspaper and etc.
Yeah.
It is the newspaper makes its way to Rose's leg, sort of, and she
has a
appears to be
jacket
asleep.
over her lap.
Right.
Yeah, and then he seems like he's asleep, and she's like, she feels something on her leg, and she's like, what if it's a hand?
Right.
And she goes, oh, that would be so. And then she goes, I think it is a hand.
Right.
And then it's definitely a hand. And she goes, oh, I need to say, stop.
But then she's saying stop to the trees and the tree
she goes, that would be
in her head.
embarrassing. Like,
Right.
actually, he goes, how can I insist that his hand is on me when he's insisting so hard that it's not?
This is one of those things that's like, I mean, this happened.
I believed it.
I absolutely believed it when it happened. I'm like,
this is how this
is how this happens.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it just happens so slowly, and the girl is so kind of like embarrassed and she's like, I don't want this. And she's saying, stop, like outside to the window. And like, and then the hand goes more and more. And then she starts thinking, and this is when she starts getting turned on by the mystery of it. And I love how Munro writes about this sexual desire. It is so poetic, but it doesn't come across as cheesy. And I want to read a couple of it. Because at first, Rose is disgusted.
Yep.
But it also, I think this story really is wonderful at describing how disgust can be the gateway to desire.
Okay.
And I actually heard somebody who studies this stuff, like a biologist, her specialty is disgust.
Whoa.
Like for an like why does disgusted? But if you're things that are disgusting to you, if you're hungry enough, will start seeming good.
Blue cheese is disgusting because it's moldy cheese. So
Yeah.
I am a higher evolved being than people who eat blue cheese.
Yeah, well, there's that. The first person who ate an oyster must have been pretty goddamn hungry. You know?
Yeah.
But also, and I remember this scientist woman, this old woman, and I just heard her on a podcast, but she's like, oh, well, sex is the same. There's certain things that are completely disgusting to you, but if you're turned on enough, it starts sounding good. And
Pretty good.
And then the moment you're done,
she's
and like, what did I
describing
just do?
And his pink face, and he's got kind of a pig nose, and he sounds very charming.
Yeah, right.
And
can I get in? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go.
Here's the part. The hand began over the next several miles, the most delicate, the most timid, pressures and investigations. Not asleep. Or if he was, his hand wasn't. She did feel disgust. She felt a faint, wandering nausea. She thought of flesh, lumps of flesh, pink snouts, fat tongues, blunt fingers, all on their way, trotting and creeping and lolling and rubbing, looking for their comfort. She thought of cats in heat, rubbing themselves along the top of board fences, yowling with their miserable complaint. It was pitiful, infantile, this itching and shoving and squeezing, spongy tissues, inflamed membranes, tormented nerve ends, shameful smells, humiliation.
It's so good.
And I'm going to go one more short paragraph. All that was starting. His hand that she wouldn't ever have wanted to hold, that she wouldn't have squeezed back, his stubborn, patient hand was able, after all, to get the ferns to rustle and the streams to flow, to waken a sly luxuriance. That's a pretty badass little.
It is.
Like, how about that for a pickup line? Hey, baby, I know how to get the ferns to rustle. Huh? All you youngins out there looking for pickup lines.
Streams to flow.
So yeah.
So yeah, there's a
He's starting to touch her,
he is.
and
Her legs were never going to open, but they were. They
she.
were.
So he starts. Yeah, he's like touching her, like, but her legs are closed, and she hasn't told him to know, but they've gone too far. But she's not going to open her legs. At least she's like, she'll never have. And yeah, and it says her legs were never going to open, and then the next paragraph, but they were.
But they were. They were.
And then there's this whole kind of like very beautifully written. All the next paragraphs are very metaphorical language about sexual arousal and
Yes.
ultimately orgasm.
Past the big pulsating pipes of oil refineries.
Everything she's looking out the window the whole time,
She
and
is.
everything looks like sex. Even like there's laundry hanging on the laundry,
Kinda sexy.
and it goes, oh, it's got, they're washing like the intimate stains from, and they're flapping
Right.
lewdly.
Right.
And every truck driver that she sees, she imagines he's like thrusting his thumb into his hand, which I
Yes.
believe is a metaphor for jacking off. and then all the pipes are pulsating. And
Yes, the intimate stains flapped leeringly on the clotheslines, even where the children seemed to be frolicking lewdly in the schoolyards, and the very truck drivers stopped at the railway crossings must be thrusting their thumbs gleefully into curled hands. Wow.
this was disgrace. This was beggary. But what harm in that, we say to ourselves at such moments? This is like the voice of Alice Munro just coming right out and just talking to us.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about those moments. What harm in anything? The worse the better, as we ride the cold wave of greed, of greedy assent, a stranger's hand, or root vegetables, or humble kitchen tools that people tell jokes about. The world is tumbling with innocent-seeming objects ready to declare themselves slippery and obliging. She was careful of her breathing. She could not believe this. Victim and accomplice, she was born past Glasgow's jams and marmalades. And here's where it is. Past the big pulsating pipes of oil refineries.
Amazing.
And children are frolicking lewdly. The guys are thrusting their thumbs into curled hands. Such cunning antics now. Such popular visions. The gates and towers of the exhibition grounds came into view. The painted domes and pillars floated marvelously against her eyelids' rosy sky. Then flew apart in celebration. You could have had such a flock of birds, wild swans even, wakened under one big dome together, exploding from it, taking to the sky.
Amazing.
So I've taught this before, and I'll go up to the board, the whiteboard, or even the chalkboard in those
Nice.
days, and then would draw a quick picture of Old Main, which is the building where my office
Nice.
is, that is topped by a big dome. So I make a square and then a big dome.
Yep.
And what does that dome look like in silhouette to you, Steve? I don't know.
The architect had something to prove. I said it.
It looks like the top half of a condom unrolled, you
It
know,
does.
but it is just a straight up phallus. And it's funny, I'll ask students that, and they just are too shy to say it. And then the image she shows is a flock of wild swans exploding from the tip of the dome.
Yeah.
That's what she just described. And then on the chalkboard, I'll just get the chalk and go and do an explosion out of the tip of
Did
the
you get a
dome.
laugh?
I think that so many of our students are so repressed, scared.
Oh,
There-
come
something.
on. No
Was that
way.
a-
That would be.
Was that a pun?
I would have. I was. I would have died.
I hope that there was some chuckles inside. I don't know. I will tell you, I've taught at a few different places.
Can't believe you do.
I taught I first taught college at Georgia State University,
Hey.
which is an urban campus right in the downtown Atlanta, and really a more urban audience, put it that way, or classmates. And I would talk about stuff like that to them, and they would roll with laughter.
Right.
They loved it.
Because it's hilarious.
But I think our students are just a little more cautious, and maybe it's a different generation too. Whatever. I don't want to get too derailed by student reception to this. But I think it's just gorgeous. Okay, yeah.
So how it ends is, like everything happens, and then the train rolls into the station, and she is starting to get a look at him. And she's like, well, when he stood up, she saw that he was shorter than she had thought, that his face was pink and shiny, and that there was something crude and pushy and childish about him.
Yeah.
Does this sound like maybe, she's sort of infatuated with him at one point, the thing happens, and then she's like, yeah, he's not that great.
Post-nut clarity.
Exactly. That's what it is. I was reading, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been there. This maybe wasn't such a great idea.
Yeah. But he's also kind of satisfied with himself that he pulled this off.
Yes.
And he's
a creep to beat,
No doubt.
Yeah.
And here's one part that is a little disturbing. But also, what is disturbing about this story is how real it all seems.
Totally real.
If it seemed like bullshit, I'd be like, whatever.
Right.
It seems like, no, this seems like exactly how it would happen.
Or maybe it happened.
Yeah. So she, it jumps ahead far into the future where this minister or fake minister or whatever would be, as she says, on call. There we go. Look at that.
Hopefully it's still on.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent.
Watch the video if you want to know what I just did.
Yeah. Had some technical issues, but
maybe.
No, I think we were good. We saved it. Or don't watch the video if there is no video.
Come on this show and defend yourself.
What was I going to say? Jeez, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
He's on call, as it were, showing no regard to future lovers or even husbands. So he's stuck in her mind, and he would show up as that fantasy that would kind of get her over the edge.
But he remained on call, so to speak, for years and years, ready to slip into place at a critical moment without any regard later on for husbands or lovers.
Yeah, that seems
weird.
Also totally real.
Yes.
This was such a transgressive thing that happened. It was a violation, but she also wanted to be an object. She wanted to be pounded. There is a very strong kind of very common desire to be subjugated, to be the bottom or whatever in sexuality, right? It's this could be a very hot moment to remember, and yet it just it's complicated.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I guess one of my questions I would ask, okay, it ends with the guy's gone, and then there's this little bit about her remembering something else that Flo told her, kind of one more character.
Yeah, she remembered, there was a girl named Mavis working in the gift shop when Flo was working in the coffee shop. Mavis had warts on her eyelids. Amazing.
But they fell off.
That looked like they were going to turn into styes, but they didn't. They went away.
Yeah.
Maybe she had them removed. Flo didn't ask. She was very good looking without them. There was a movie star those days that she looked a lot like. The movie star's name was Frances Farmer. So what she does, she pretends that she is Frances Farmer and checks into a hotel or resort for a weekend and has the same hat that sort of pulls down over the eyes.
Yeah.
And to make people think that she was her, and Flo couldn't believe that she would do something like that and thought she should be arrested for the nerve.
Well, she didn't call herself. She checked in as
right.
some other Florence Farmer.
Right.
So she's kind of pretending to be Frances Farmer, pretending to be somebody else.
Right.
Which also is like the minister who's pretending to not be a minister, or the
I
person.
wrote down just like him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, nice one.
Pretending to be someone
Yeah.
he is not.
I think we're no, let's talk
we gotta
about
talk
the
about the yeah, we
No,
gotta
but
talk
we're
about
going to
this.
take our little break
we need to
too.
take the break.
But wait, I want to talk more a little about the story before we get to the article. Yeah, and so the final confounding thing about this, I love this story because the first time I read it, and still every time I read it, I'm always, the thing that you would expect to happen is never the thing that happens. Something else happens. And you would think that in a story like this, a lesser writer at the end would give you this sense that, oh, Rose was all fucked up and felt violated, and it doesn't end on that note at all.
Right.
She feels like, oh, Frances Farmer got away with it.
Right.
She pretended to be somebody else that she wasn't, and Rose is like, wouldn't that be cool? And everything about Rose coming up to this was she wants to be sexy. She wants to wear
be someone else.
Yeah, she wants to do all these things that she doesn't want anybody back in Hanratty to know. Let me ask you a question. Rose becomes a very successful person later on in the Beggar Maid stories. What do you think her career ends up being?
Oh God.
Just give it a shot. If you don't get it right, no biggie. What would make sense thematically, I guess, given this story?
I have no idea.
Just throw some stuff out there.
Can't.
What?
I'm not, because I'm going to sound like a dumbass. So
I love
more
it.
so than normal.
I love it when you're a dumbass. By the way, thanks for letting me wear your sweater.
No problem.
It's a little cold out here
A little chilly.
for old man Daniels.
At the temperature, but it's not on this one.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
I'll say it's in the arts.
Oh God, now I have no idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you first said that you thought it was autobiographical, so just there.
Oh, so she's a writer.
No,
Oh.
it's not.
Well,
but
thanks.
That would have been the obvious one, though, right?
Yeah, I guess.
No, she becomes an actress.
Pretty close.
Yeah, but also think about it. She's getting off on pretending to be somebody who she's not.
Oh.
And the original title of the first book was Who Do You Think You Are? Which was changed to The Beggar Maid.
Who Do You Think You Are is a better title.
You like it better? Yeah.
Who do you think you are?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good too. At any rate, so I have one more question for you before we do our little break. And what, I don't know. I guess I'm wondering, what is the effect this has on? So the normal story, the lesser story, the more obvious one, the person who wants to make a point. The point of the story is obvious. This young girl, the 16-year-old girl, was victimized by this terrible man.
Yeah.
And she's traumatized, and people that do that are bad, and people that have trauma we need to know about this stuff. That's the lesser story. That's the uninteresting story.
Right.
That's the social justice story.
That's not the story she told.
No.
Yeah.
But what do you think the lasting effect of this is on Rose? I mean, we know that the guy sticks around in her mind and comes out during kind of sexual feelings.
It's good.
I mean,
based on the article, which we'll get to, it's maybe the timing is better than the stuff that's there, but it doesn't feel that far off. Maybe it's because I have a nearly 15-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Where it's like extra protective. And
I guess I'm just thinking, even without trying to make it too clear a connection between reality or what actually happened that we found out and just the story itself. I find that Rose does not feel like she has been particularly traumatized or victimized,
Right.
but she has been fucked up in ways that she actually can't really articulate or even understand. And I think it helps turn her into the person she becomes, who is a very successful person, but a person who is unable to have lasting relationships.
Okay.
Who is into really kind of, I guess, into kink, and I don't know. I think there are people in the kink community, good old kink community, probably will say, hey, there's nothing.
Come on this show.
Yeah. All of you. I want every single leather ball gag motherfucking one of you on this porch defending yourselves.
You can go ahead and send that email.
Those mistresses would be like kicking our asses.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess we would like it.
Maybe.
That's the way.
We'd have to try
That's
first.
the way. That's the way it goes.
I mean.
Anyway. No, I think that she is.
I got it. Wait, it's like what my sister-in-law says. Well, if you tried it once, it doesn't make you gay. But if you went back, then that does.
There's a guy named Jim Carroll, great kind of Andy Warhol era New Yorker. Great. Good old Jim Carroll.
Yeah.
Hung out with. In those days, like in the 70s, it was chic to be androgynous and like being gay was, or at least, anyway, there was like sexual morals were really kind of different, like experimental and all that. But it was pretty popular for these guys to turn tricks in New York. Like Dee Dee Ramone from the Ramones has a song about turning tricks on, and it's about like stabbing some guy.
53rd.
Yeah. But Jim Carroll would write about having these kind of experiences, for money. And he goes, oh, I'm not gay. He goes, how do you know you're not gay? He goes, because I never do it unless they pay. And, that's so Jim Carroll. Should we, maybe, how about I just hit the button? Let's see if I get the right one.
Hey folks, let's take a break. So while you're topping off your pint, we've got a quick bit of housekeeping. If you're enjoying The Moon Underwater, do us a solid. Leave us a good rating and review wherever you listen, Apple or Spotify. It really helps more people stumble into our cozy pub of books, films, and conversation. And don't keep it to yourself. Tell a friend or share the show on your socials. Speaking of, you can find us on Instagram and Threads at The Moon Underwater Pod, YouTube at The Moon Underwater Pubcast, Twitter and Blue Sky at The Moon Underwater, and Letterboxd at TMUW Pod. We're posting updates, extra thoughts, and the occasional pub-related nonsense. So join us there. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or if you just want to say hi, write us at theguys@themoonunderwaterpubcast.com. All right, back to your regularly scheduled pints and paperbacks.
This is a pint.
Pints and paperbacks.
This pint is 16 ounces.
I do own a paperback of The Beggar Maid.
Oh.
Trade paperback.
With the wrong title.
Yeah, that's right. I bet you having one of those original Canada ones, I bet you it's probably worth
retitle it?
Shitload of money. What?
Did they retitle it? Or they just didn't use the title? Remember you were saying that they had a different title picked? I don't remember what it was.
Who Do You Think You Are?
Yeah.
That's the Canadian one. That was the original version, and then they changed it to The Beggar Maid when it got published in the big, Penguin, the big American kind of, when she made it big.
Well.
It went commercial.
It went commercial, and as a result, maybe she
became
sold out.
She sold out, and she sold out her daughter.
Her daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who, as it turns out, it seems like, man, I read this article, like I said afterwards, and I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Because I thought it was her. I thought it was about Munro saying that she had been abused, and that because we talked about it last week after we recorded, and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. Like,
it was upsetting.
This is way worse.
So think about the people that have worshipped Alice Munro for
Munro.
I wouldn't say worshipped, but she was my favorite story. I thought she was the deepest, hardest, like unflinching
I cannot wait for this. The train's coming.
Hear that train a coming.
It's coming around the
Coming
bend.
around the bend.
And I ain't seen sunshine since I don't know when.
Yeah. All right, folks. Here comes that train.
Stuck in LeClaire prison.
Stuck in Roadhouse, Riverview Roadhouse.
Yes!
That's loud.
All right, that's not bad. That's pretty
Yeah.
loud.
I don't know that these mics are actually pretty good at just,
We're going to try.
yeah.
I say we go with it. The video's great.
It's a long train, too.
Yeah. It is.
So,
So it tells the story of Andrea Skinner, as we talked about, the daughter
yeah.
of Munro, and she writes her own article, and she can write.
Yeah.
Um,
What is she now? Did you read what her...
I did. Yeah. Equine therapy.
Equine therapy
Yep.
and wellness, kind of,
Yep.
that whole deal.
I was a happy child.
wait,
active-
she's still around?
Yep.
Let's send our audience to do her equine therapy,
They should.
you know?
So, the line I really liked was, I was 9 years old. I was a happy child, active and curious, who had only just realized I couldn't grow up to be a sheep herding dog. A great disappointment, as I loved both dogs and sheep.
Yeah.
That's,
It's cute.
it's cute. She talks about how she has been sexually assaulted and sort of is blaming herself and
By
doesn't
her
really want to tell
stepdad.
anybody.
Yeah.
And she
That
does
guy's a creep.
she does eventually tell people. She tells her family. She told her
Her stepmom.
stepbrother first.
Yeah.
And then that goes up through dad, who decided to not do anything, not say anything.
I thought that was a huge betrayal that wasn't really...
Same. And she forgives him for it because
Yeah.
she sort of understood that it would be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like,
But
I'm killing a
the
fool.
thing about Alice Munro at this point is I think she's like a big star. Maybe,
Yeah.
I'm not sure when she gets to become super famous, but it's happening throughout this whole thing.
right.
And one of the ideas of it is if she was a nobody, I don't think anybody would have given a shit. They would have thrown that guy in jail.
Right.
But because it's Alice Munro, everybody's got to...
You get a pass.
Yeah, you get a pass. There we go.
The river's back.
Woo!
Oh my
That was
God.
loud.
Maybe we need to re-record that entire section.
We could just kind
Don't
of...
worry. I'll
talk-
enhance the audio. That's not really a thing. But
We could talk about... I think that people...
don't turn up the volume, but don't turn it up too loud.
Yeah, right.
It's a good idea.
So anyway, Andrea Skinner kind of came out and published this article, and when I read it, I was like, I wonder what the fact, why do they know this is factual and it's not just a he said, she said thing? It's like, oh well,
There's
the guy
letters.
there's letters,
The
and the
fucker
guy
wrote
was
letters.
convicted
Yeah.
of abusing her and was given nothing, like
Right.
2 years of probation,
Probation.
and you can't go near any kids under 14
Right.
for a little while or something.
14 inclusive, I hope.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's, it was,
It was awful, and
Really?
she's just like, and she's nobody will tell her mom, and she won't tell her mom because she's afraid that her mom will be too upset, and that just right there says that something's really wrong
right.
with this whole situation. And the guy starts it when she's 9, and then it just keeps happening because she has to go back and stay with them every summer, and her mom's always gone because she's a famous writer and she's traveling, and her husband is screwing around, and then it turns out the guy is like doing that to all kinds of
Yeah,
other young girls
in the
and they're
neighborhood.
like kids.
Right.
He's a full-on pedophile, and he even starts arguing that in other cultures, older people are supposed to like introduce the young people into
they're supposed
sex.
to diddle the kids.
Yeah.
It's, whatever.
Yeah. And
Ah.
so that goes on, and then finally, she's got getting migraines, and she's like fucked up from this. The daughter, and then she finally, her mom is telling her about.
It was her siblings, the gatehouse.
Yeah.
That one.
Well, I was thinking about the short story
Okay.
that Munro read a short story about a kid
Yeah.
who is molested and then kills herself because she doesn't want to tell her mom. And she goes, "Oh, since you read that story,
Why do you think?
like, yeah," she goes,
wouldn't tell
"In
her
that
mom."
case, this is what happened. This is what your husband did to me." And Munro immediately believes it because she knows
She knows he's a perv.
he's been accused of it elsewhere.
He seems like the basis of the minister, if I'm honest, on the train.
I guess, but I mean, yeah.
Maybe that's how they met. He's a real charmer. You
Yeah.
know? Fuck.
I know it pisses you off,
It does.
and her mom is immediately like, "Oh, that guy cheated on me." It was her attitude.
Yeah.
Like, how dare he? And he's like, and she's just like, "Oh, you wanted it." Was kind of
Exactly.
her
And
attitude.
so when I read that was the attitude,
Yeah.
and I thought that's what she's saying about Rose, and I don't really believe it.
But also, Rose didn't really want it.
she didn't.
She
Exactly.
was aroused. She had fantasies like every.
Who wouldn't have been?
Girl
The guy
doesn't-
sounded super handsome, big nose, sausage fingers. I mean,
That was more, yeah, I get it. But, and her mom is all about how aggrieved she is, and then she reconciles with the husband.
yeah.
And the husband also says that he's going to kill her,
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah. Hold on.
And it's fucked
I've got
up,
it
man.
here.
And the guy's
Meanwhile,
dead.
Fremlin acted quickly. He told my mother he would kill me if I ever went to the police, and wrote letters to my family blaming me for the abuse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, literally, he was victim blaming,
Oh, yeah.
and Munro stood by her man.
She sure did to the day she died.
Yeah.
Or day he died. And then, but the daughter, Andrea, never reconciled.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You are not a coward.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? The
You
moon
can-
underwater, we are on
Shout out.
Andrea's side.
Yeah.
Andrea Skinner, you're right. And Munro, you're a great writer, but fuck you.
Yeah, and
You
I'm
know, and
kinda
you're
done with this one. If I'm honest, I wouldn't want to read. I loved it. I wouldn't want to read another one.
There's some good shit out there, man.
bet.
It's but
I'll miss out.
yeah.
It's one
Oh,
of-
is that your attitude
oh
toward
yeah, no, I won't
toward art
consume it.
though? I
Um,
mean, would you not watch a Woody Allen film because he? Although,
I try not to watch Woody Allen films if I'm honest, but not for the reason that.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Woody Allen is, I just don't think any of that was clear cut. It is. There's not a single. He's never been charged with a crime. It's
Allegedly, Your
some,
Honor.
Some people allege that he did this or that. He ended up marrying his adoptive
Daughter.
stepdaughter.
I don't know how that works.
Adoptive daughter? Was it her, or was it Mia Farrow's daughter? And he just hooked up with Mia Farrow. It's okay.
I have
It's a little
I'm
awkward.
2.5 beers in, and I have comments that I'm not going to make.
Just a little awkward. But you don't watch Woody Allen films because you just don't like Woody Allen.
it's just not my.
I used to love Woody Allen
I guess
films. I still
he
do.
did Vicky Cristina Barcelona. Was that him? I think it was him.
Was it?
Scarlett Johansson.
Was that him?
I saw it at the gym
Yeah.
many moons ago.
Yeah.
It was playing for several days at
the gym?
the old Gold's Gym down in the theater, the cardio theater.
Yeah.
They had a projector with big sound. You
He's
could
got
work
some
out.
great movies in it earlier in his career, and I really think he's an important filmmaker.
I did love
and
Spaceballs.
That's not Woody Allen.
What?
That's
so
Mel
disappointed.
Brooks.
I know.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Thank you for being for joking
Come on.
because I
It's
thought,
kinda-
man,
I was thinking.
I get it. I'm the professor and you're the everyman, but is this the level that we're dealing with
Yep,
here?
it is.
Yeah.
So
You got me.
So I liked it. It's like I'm out, and I've been going back and forth on, do I still like it? Yeah, I did. I just don't want to like more because something is off in the story. Something's off, and so it's one of those, like, you knew this was happening or you knew it happened, and you weren't told until way later, and then you victim blamed. Well, it's your fault. You told me too late.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, I know.
Like that.
It's bad.
So Andrea Skinner.
What about
love.
Bill Cosby?
I mean, I haven't seen the Cosby Show in 20 years, 30.
You a big fan? Cosby Show?
I was. Yeah, I really like the Cosby
What about
Show.
now, though? You're.
I'm not going to watch anymore. No.
No, but are you? Yeah, I guess. Okay. Here's my take on the
Okay, because we were
on the
this
comparison.
was the hook.
Yeah, the comparison. Did you have you ever seen that Norm Macdonald like driving with comedians in cars thing?
Oh, well, there's the.
He did it more than just that.
Well, there was Seinfeld, comedians in cars getting coffee.
Yeah, and Seinfeld was with Norm Macdonald.
Amazing.
Once. And
yes,
he's
Norm
just
Macdonald's
like,
fantastic.
yeah. And Norm Macdonald goes, do you think? And Seinfeld's driving. Do you think what Bill Cosby did is going to affect his career? And Seinfeld doesn't laugh at all. He's just driving. He's
Right.
going, yeah. And he goes, yeah, I was talking to Patton Oswalt. And he thinks, for him, the worst part is the hypocrisy. And Seinfeld's like,
God.
really? That's what he said? He goes, yeah.
For me, it's
He's
the
like,
rape.
the hypocrisy. He's like, yeah. He goes, I don't think that's the worst part. I think the worst part's the raping.
I've seen it.
It's
And
really funny.
That is funny, and it's different than anyway.
But here's the thing. I mean, I'd have no interest in watching the Cosby Show or stand-up comedy with Cosby. And it's not like I go back to stand-up comedy and I don't know. I actually.
I'm not going to consume it.
I'll watch old George Carlin clips and stuff. It's hilarious. But Cosby mainly played. It is the hypocrisy. He played like, Mr. Nice Guy.
He really did.
And so it's hard to watch because you're always going to see that. I don't think Munro ever played Ms. Nice Guy.
All
Her
right.
stories are fucked up.
Yep.
And I think
But I think she was fucked up.
yeah, and I think that I would continue to read them with that her own private screw up or badness or whatever or dysfunction. I think makes them even more interesting. That's
Was she kind of Rose to some degree?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Very much so. I feel like I think she was from the small nowhere town. And she became huge. And,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about her past, but so Rose later grows up and she's like, cheats on all the men that she's with, and she's always falling for the wrong kind of guy.
Maybe that's
that kind of thing. And
all of these things happened.
Yeah.
There was a divorce, allegedly.
Yeah.
Or
And
for sure.
Munro stays with this one guy who's like a full-on active and known pedophile. That's the guy. She's a superstar.
She's going
Seems
all
like
in with him.
Yeah, to the very
Yeah,
end. And loses her daughter over it.
Disappointing, I'll say.
I'd say so. Like,
Yep. So
could have done better. But
I'm glad I read it, and I'm good. We won't cover it again on the podcast.
She has a short story called Differently. I haven't read it in years. But it's about people just treating each other badly, and it's a relationship thing, and it has a lot to do with infidelity and really cruel infidelity. And one person is at the end, this is the title comes from, somebody's trying to articulate why they're, dissatisfaction with life in general. It goes, and it's something like, I just wish people would treat each other differently is how it ends. And
Perfect. In what way?
Yeah. I
It
mean,
could mean anything.
in every way, I think is kind of
No.
how it's coming out. But So yeah, that's it. That's. Do you think we solved the cancellation scam? Do you think we got we stepped on the wrong side of? No, I think that we were really morally, like, on the side of the cancelers.
Yeah,
we're woke. We're woke.
God.
Admit it. Admit it.
I mean, I'm making the decision for me.
Yeah.
Right. You can be a fan.
Yeah.
I'll say that. How's that?
I'm not a fan.
I'm not
I
saying
don't-
you. I'm saying you.
Oh, one can be
Right.
a fan.
I
One
didn't
can
say-
read.
I don't talk like that though. I don't. Doctor in front of my name doesn't.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. One.
Mister.
Yeah.
Not even.
You.
Not even
You.
a master's.
How about
degree.
they? Say they instead, because
They.
you know
They.
you don't
Yes.
want to alienate anybody,
True.
any part
Truly
of that
woke.
part of our audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah. They can be fans.
You're a
I
wokester.
choose to.
Steve Jones.
I choose to have enjoyed this
Steve
and not
Jones,
consume anymore.
DEI director. It rolls off the
That
tongue.
pays pretty well. I understand. So.
So they
you know,
say.
And names like Steve Jones are often associated with people who want to be DEI directors. Just saying. I do speak pretty good Spanish. So that
Yeah,
makes me fairly diverse with a name like Steve Jones. See? Look at how amazing I am.
Yeah. Nice one.
I know.
All
well,
right.
We're going to finish this beer offline
I
here.
think we will. Wait.
Who,
Let's.
wait. We should see who wins.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
I know that was good.
I want to see who wins the Caps game.
Is it just like the highest, the best?
Best of 3 because we're not drinking 4 beers.
Okay. What do you mean? Just the best out of our 3, the highest number?
I think
or the
that's what we're going to have to do.
Mine's King of Clubs.
Ah. You win.
Yes.
That should mean I have to pay.
Thank you, folks.
Wow.
Thank you.
All right.
I already paid though.
Sweet.
Anyway,
Wow.
I
You
guess-
really like that button.
I really do. I think this is the one. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. And now, put your phones down and get out of the house and do something active in the real world. And better yet, do it with a friend or a stranger or some horror that you found online.
As long as it's
And-
not pickleball.
Yeah. No.
No, I think I'm anti-pickleball.
No, you got to be pro pickleball.
Mm.
You cannot fight that fight, man. You know what percentage of our audience is pickleballers?
100.
99. There's
There's one person.
yeah.
I like that we think maybe we have 100 listeners. That's pretty good.
You mean 100,000, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well. There we go. See y'all. Catch you later.